Hello YouTube and welcome back to my channel. I've decided on a name for this series of videos. I'm going to call it the Humane Mind, where the human part of the first word is going to be all in caps. And I may end up taking that moniker for myself as well. Alright, so there's a lot going on in the news. There's the whole Kaepernick not standing up for the national anthem that's apparently newsworthy and is all over the place for whatever reason, because people protest in that way all the time. So I don't know why this is significant in any way, shape, or form. He's allowed to protest, but he's also allowed to be a dick, and he's being a dick during those protests because he's supporting racist movements. Black Lives Matter and police are against black. No, statistically, that's not what's going on. Alright, there's the other thing of the YouTube demonetization, which is making its rounds. Apparently they've been doing this for years, and it's just recently that they decided to inform people that they've been doing this for years. So all these people who are just now getting informed about this and how they've lost revenue and they've lost money over the years, they're getting pretty angry with YouTube over it. I don't earn any money from YouTube at the moment, so I don't care. I don't have much to say on this matter. And I don't intend to receive any money from doing these YouTube videos, and it's not going to be a full-time job, so this doesn't really affect me, although it does affect many other YouTubers. Then there's the hula girl on the Lyft driver's dashboard, and this is this is pretty hilarious. That girl is out of her mind, and everyone knows it, and is making the rounds, and everyone is just laughing at her when she was trying to shame this guy into removing a hula bobble from his dashboard that was super glued apparently, and she was like, oh, you can just take it down. No, it's super glued on there. That takes a lot of effort. You can't just do that while driving. Anyway, stupid drunk person tries to make people feel bad about owning a trinket. Silliness. There's also Trump's trip to Mexico to meet the president there, and his whole announcement on his immigration plan. I think I will make a video about that later on, but I don't know enough of the facts to do that video. And the other topic that I ended up choosing, I thought was at least more relevant, or at least I had some new insight on. A little discussion between a famous YouTuber and some innocent girl who's about 16 or 17 who was just asking questions about the trans movement. And this famous YouTuber is Milo Stewart. Long story short, Milo was insulting this girl because everything this girl said that was honest, simple questions, she was trying to be as least offensive as possible, and she could not win versus Milo. One of the things this girl said was, I was born a female and I'm choosing to stay a female, and Milo took offense to that. Because this girl was just describing her situation and how she doesn't understand people who transition, and she was trying to get more information about that, and that somehow stating what is essentially the facts of her predicament upset Milo, and she was claiming offense. And the poor girl who was asking the questions was tweeting, and she said she was on the verge of tears, or I don't know if she actually said she broke down crying because she felt so bad about offending the trans community. She didn't want to. That was not her goal. That was not her objective. She just wanted to figure out what it was all about. And anyway, the rest of it, thankfully, most of the other Twitter community, or at least the ones that I saw, stuck up for this young girl. And I was among those, and I said, Milo, just because you wish you had a dick doesn't mean you have to be a dick. That was my response. That's still my response. She was being a complete dick to this girl. She could have been like, oh, okay, well, that's an honest mistake, and then corrected it. But no, that was not her attitude or her what she ended up doing. She did not treat this young girl like a respectable person. She treated her like a hostile attacker, which is kind of the mindset of someone like this. And that's why I wanted to get into this, that's why I wanted to talk about this specific topic. Because as I thought about the mindset of someone like Milo Stewart, I kind of had an epiphany, or eureka moment. Milo feels powerless to control anything else about her life. And so in order to exert some control, she shames people because that's the only way she feels that she can control her environment or her life. That's the only way that she's found where her actions cause a result. It may not be the result she wants, it may not be the desired outcome, but that's the only way she can exhibit control over her world. That's the only way that she knows how to exhibit control over her world. And I think that this branches out, and this is kind of the root cause of almost all the social justice warrior movement. Anyone who's involved in it, I have this theory that that might be the source of it all, is they feel powerless, they feel like they have no control over anything else, and they found this one little section where if they shame people, people change their behavior. And it's not all people. Some people are immune to this, like some people are just shameless. I mean, in a good way. Some people are shameless in a bad way, like the actual show, where they don't have any kind of self-worth or dignity, and there's other people who are shameless who see through the BS and are like, no. Okay, so I chose one of Milo Stewart's earlier videos because it's short, and it demonstrates what I think, it demonstrates evidence that I think support my idea. Alright, so the first 2 points she makes are kind of inconsequential. This is her thinking that being creative is just young people, and something about a playlist being creative, which is complete absurdity to me. We've got plenty of examples of old people who are creative, like I found an article, I'm going to link that in the description. It talks about people like Stanley, Jack Kirby, Julia Childs, and among others, who didn't start being creative until they were in their 30s or 40s. So that's, yeah, anyway. I'm not here to debunk this video. Those are just, sorry, I just kind of threw that out there. Anyway, everyone knows playlist is not important. So anyway, she talks about creativity in general, so I'm going to throw this in here, where modern art is kind of like the opposite of creative. Modern art is stupid. Modern art is a single solid color over a canvas and somehow, oh, that's art. Or it's Jackson Pollock throwing paint on a canvas and calling that art. How is that art? There's no reason to it. It doesn't do anything. It's not, anyone can do that. Anyone can make a Jackson Pollock by just throwing all their stuff. The only difference between his stuff and theirs is his name, which is complete stupidity. It's horrible. Generally, a work of art stands on its own. I don't think Jackson Pollock's stuff stands on its own. The only reason people pay attention to that and something that looks exactly the same by some nobody is with the name at the bottom. Leonardo da Vinci didn't rely on his name, he relied on his creativity and his actual mastery of artistry. His paints are distinct. His paintings are distinct. To recreate one takes a lot of skill and attention. It takes a master artist in order to do that. Because anyone worth their salt can look at that painting and compare it to a forgery, and they're like, oh no, this one is obviously the real deal, and this one is a forgery. And they can tell you why. It's because of the brush strokes, it's because of the paints used. There's all these different things that you have to have in order to create something that is truly amazing. Those are something that can't be mass-produced, they can't be manufactured. It's not something that can be easily duplicated. That's what makes it amazing. Is it takes extreme skill and talent to create a work of art. And what these other people do is not art. It doesn't take any skill, it doesn't take any thought, there's no amazing part to it. Anyway, that's just my rant about art. And there's literally an art project that is composed of human feces, and so basically what that tells me is that modern art is crap. Okay. Let me get into the meat and potatoes of this video. The main thing that I saw about this video and I was like, okay, there's the problem right there. Is when she starts talking about genders and then she says, why does society only give me a choice between two? Alright, already she's of this impression that she gets a choice in her gender and that society has only said there are two genders and so she only gets a choice between male and female. Well, society didn't determine that. Your genetics did. Male and female are determined by genetics. Okay, there's a spectrum of female to male. But there's a distinct dividing line between the two, and that distinction is reproductive function. Male reproductive function is to provide sperm. Female reproductive function is to provide the egg and also the womb in which the egg in which the fertilized egg can grow into a human fetus and then to a human. Those are the distinct functions of those two genders. So you can pretend to be a man all you want, Milo, but your biology is that of a female. Because your biology is that where you can produce eggs, you can and do produce eggs, and if they were fertilized, you would produce a human being because of your biology. So you don't get a choice in the matter, just like you don't get a choice in how tall you are. You don't get a choice in your skin color. Oh, is that society telling you what skin color you were born with? No, that's genetics. There's also brain scans between males and females are distinctly different because guess what? Males and females serve two different functions. That's all genetics, that's biology. That is not society. But the fact that she said, so this is where I get into the control. She feels like she's powerless. She feels like she should have a choice and she should be able to choose between between more than two options. But instead of saying that, oh, that's just the way the world is, she's like, oh, I feel so powerless. I should have a choice, but society won't let me choose. So that's where she gets this this victim mentality that her choices are removed not because of facts or reason, but because other people are removing those choices. Other people are exerting control over her, and she's powerless to do anything about it. Alright, next thing she gets into is she's talking about some comments and questions that she often gets asked, where they ask her, are you a boy or a girl? Now this is a pretty simple question. It's the same thing that crossed my mind when I first heard of or saw the videos of Milo Stewart. I'm like, wait, is that a dude or is that a chick? Because it's difficult to tell. And I think what happened is when Milo was younger and she was going through puberty, that question came up a lot. And she didn't want people to ask that question. So, and she was probably a little more, towards the spectrum of men and women, she probably fell a little closer towards the man side. She was still distinctly female, but it's a little closer to the masculine side. And she dresses like a tomboy, and she kind of acts like a tomboy, from what I can tell. And so, yes, that question is bound to come up because people know that there's a specific distinction between men and women, and she's kind of closer to that dividing line. So it's a natural question. People ask it. She didn't like getting asked that. So rather than go fully female and to dress and act in ways that accentuate her femininity, she chose instead to resolve that if she knows what people are going to do, like people are going to ask that question, so if she acts androgynous and dresses androgynous on purpose, and people ask that question, then she got the results she wanted. So this is how she exerts some form of control, but it's not real control. It's an imagined control. She says, if I dress and act androgynous, people will ask this question, ha ha, I caused that. That's the mentality here. She may not say this, she may not articulate this, but that's what I think is going on in the back of her mind. If I know the result beforehand, I can change my actions to make it seem like that's the result I wanted. And that gives her some semblance of control, at least in her mind. Okay, but really, this is absurd. There's a joke that used to be told about this kind of thing, where there's a guy on the street corner, he's snapping his fingers. And somebody comes up and asks him, why are you snapping your fingers? And he says, oh, that's to keep the bears away. Because people can see how stupid that is. Well, there weren't any bears, so snapping his fingers is not going to make the non-existent bears go away. It's an area without bears. Bears don't generally hang out on the street corner. I mean, maybe once in a while one will roam through a town when they're desperate or whatever, but that's not generally where bears hang out. They don't hang out in the street corner. So, by snapping his fingers, he can say, oh, look, I'm scaring all the bears away. But really, there would be no bears whether he snapped his fingers or not. So he's attempting to exert control over a situation where really his actions don't affect the outcome. And that's what I think Milo Stewart is doing. Whether she dressed completely like a woman and accentuated her, her feminine features, her, showed cleavage or whatever, people would still ask that question, even if she grew her hair out long, because sometimes her face looks like that of a man. It's not like she's growing facial hair or is very like a rugged man, but sometimes it's kind of like, is that a man trying to be a woman, or is that a woman who looks like a man? It's a natural question. It happens. Other people are subject to this as well. I mean, I'm not immune to this. When I'm on the phone, because I have a higher pitched voice, sometimes the other person on the other end, if they don't know who I am, they will call me ma'am. And that's an honest mistake. I understand it completely. Okay, so she's doing the androgynous thing on purpose in order to get the results. Now, when she made this video, she was about 14 or 15, so obviously there's a little bit of that, her being naive that goes into this. But I think that she kept this kind of same mentality and the same, I can't control anything, so if I act this way, and if I know people are automatically going to treat me a certain way or ask a certain thing or behave this way already, I'm going to tailor my actions to make it seem like that's the result I wanted. And I think that that is what all social justice warriors do. They know people will behave like this, so they tailor their actions as if their actions are going to get that result. So they tailor their actions and their words in order to say, see, that's what I wanted. I wanted them to do this, even though they were going to do that regardless. Generally, people don't want to offend others. Generally, people want to treat other people with respect. And obviously, by the way that this girl was phrasing her questions, she was trying to do that to the best of her ability. The 17-year-old that was asking Milo questions. She was doing this to the best of her ability to not offend Milo, and Milo found every way to be offended. Because she knew people were going to ask questions. She knew that if she played the victim and acted like she was offended, this girl would continue to try to say, oh no, that's not what I meant, that's not what I meant, that she would behave that way. And in this way, Milo's like, oh, I have some control over the world. I have some control over other people because people don't want to be shamed, and if I shame them, or if I make them feel shamed because I say that you're offending me, that you're hurting me, that you shouldn't say those things, they will change their actions. And so this is how Milo thinks, oh, I can't control anything else in my world. I can't control all of these other aspects. The world is chaos. I want some form of control. And this is the only area that she's found where she can exert some of that control. So that's what I think is kind of the root behind this phenomenon. Is people feel powerless to control everything else in their world. They don't realize that they are solely responsible for the outcome of their life. Your actions determine where you end up in life. I already went through this on another video, but I'm going to reiterate it here. Your choices, how you respond to other people, your words, your actions, your attitudes, they determine your life because they determine your character. Your character is how other people eventually perceive you and how they respond to you in kind. You can't control other people, but generally people behave in the same manner in which they are treated. If you're nice to people, they will respond in kind, being nice back. And people who don't, you ignore. You stop interacting with them. Because obviously they don't understand the, hey, I'm being nice to you, you should try to be nice back to me. If they don't grasp this concept, then you ignore them and you walk away. You go somewhere else, you deal with people that do treat you like an actual person. So and you can choose to do that. You don't have to stay and talk with a person who's obviously a jerk. The person who obviously doesn't care about other people other than themselves. You don't have to deal with that person because there are plenty of other people who will treat you okay, who will treat you like an actual person, who will treat you based on your character, based on your actions. And those are the people like that are the people that you end up working for, people that you respect, people that you're like, okay, this person treated me with respect, I'm going to treat them back with respect, I like this job, I like this company, I think we're a good fit, that's the places you go to, that's the places you try to get hired. That affects your work, that affects your income, you choose your education level, that'll also change your life, what you're educated, what you're knowledgeable about, that changes your life, that is how you exert control, because you can control what information you learn and that you apply to your life. That's a form of control that anyone can do. So Milo, read something other than all of this trans nonsense. That's what you can do. You can educate yourself on the entire subject instead of just your narrow perspective, which limits your options and limits your actual control. Other social justice warriors do the same thing, although I don't think anybody's actually going to listen to this. But yeah, that's the whole point, is you can choose. So if you feel limited in your options and your control, expand what you know. Expand the people that you hang out with. Expand the people that you interact with. Because that's how you gain more options and more control over your life. And on that note, I'm going to end this video. Alright, and I want to say something else about Twitter. I got some advice from, I think is a friend, someone else who's on YouTube. And so per her advice, there, I am now a female bear with a bow in my hair. Is this working? Is it working? I don't know how to do flash animation or animation in general, and I don't want to add cartoon little deals to my videos anyway. This is just gonna, because I want people to know me. I want people to know my ideas and my thoughts and my attitude. Obviously, the picture of the bear that I was showing, that's not the person who I'm trying to get the interest of. That's the person who gave me the advice. Alright, and like as usual, I'm going to end this video with a catchphrase, although it's really just a line from a movie that I enjoy. And I'm going to do an actual real-life person instead of the animated ones, because that's getting kind of old. Well, I had a roommate once, then my mom moved out. That's not really a very good impersonation, because that sounds more like Strong Sad than Rick Moranis. But it's probably the only good part of that movie, Ghostbusters 2, obviously, and that's one of the lines I quote all the time. Alright, bye.